welcome to Miracle English Language and Literature Institute. I'm Professor Abha Shama. As you know, friends, that this video series is dedicated to the students who are preparing for CBSE or UGC-NET. We've already done 6 questions in part 1. Now let's discuss and solve the rest of the questions. Let's take question number 7. Which of the following 16th century poets was not a courtier? George Puttenham, Philip Sidney, Walter Raleigh, Thomas White. According to me, all 4 of them were courtiers. Let's see who was less a courtier. Let's take up first Thomas White. He is often paired up with Earl of Surrey, Henry Howard, and they both are responsible to introduce Petrarchan sonnet and blank verse in English verse. George Puttenham was a writer of Art of Poetry, which was then a handbook of poetry and rhetorics. Philip Sidney, oh, what a gentleman was he! He was a soldier, he was a courtier, and he was an author. He wrote Astrophel and Stella, the sonnets, which became very popular during the Elizabethan era after Shakespearean sonnets. Then we have Walter Raleigh, who was knighted by Queen as Sir Walter Raleigh. He was one of her favourites. But during the time of James I, he was accused of treason and was present in the Tower of London, where he was executed. He was the one who wrote very bold, unorthodox poetry, and he was also popular for his straight remarks. He answered Christopher Marlowe's poem The Passionate Shepherd to his love by a rebuff called The Nymph's Reply to the Passionate Shepherd, where he wants beauty, youth and happiness forever, eternally, whereas in reality they all are short-lived. So according to me, all 4 of them are courtiers. Let's take the next question. Patrick White published 2 novels in the 1950s, giving the eras of pioneering and exploration in Australian history an epic, ironic and psychological dimension. The novels are A Fringe of Leaves, The Tree of Man, Was, and The Aunt's Story. Now we have to find out which 2 books were on the pioneering and exploration in Australian history in epic, ironic and psychological dimensions. Now, all the 4 are very important. Who's Patrick White? Oh, Patrick White, the Australian writer, Anglo-Australian writer, who got the Nobel Prize in 1973. Let's discuss the works one by one. The Fringe of Leaves is a story of castaway. This is one character who's casted away, and the story has all the ins and outs of what happens when a shipwreck is there and people land on an isolated, unknown island, and there they face what difficulties, how do they survive. It's about all the traumas of such a situation. Do you remember the Castaway movie of Tom Hanks? He's casted away in a lonely island where he lives for 4 long years. He talks to a football because that was the only companion he had. The Tree of Man is based on trials and tribulations of Parker family. It's in the backdrop of fires and flood and drought and the burden of living. It's so difficult to survive in such drastic conditions of life. The third choice is Was, and it is based on a real expedition through the Australian coast by a German immigrant. The fourth choice is the aunt story. This is a story of a woman, middle-aged woman whose mother is dead, and to save herself from the actions of impediments, she leaves Australia for the European tour. Therefore, the two novels as an answer are The Tree of Man and Was. Both give you the insight of the Australian pioneering and exploration, the ironic and psychological dimension. Yes, next question. In which of the following works did Bhaktin propose his widely cited concept of the Carnivalesque? Carnivalesque. Carnivalesque. There are 4 books of Bhaktin: Discourse in the Novel, Dialogic Imagination, Rebellious and His World, Forms of Time, and the Chronotop of the Novel. Now, first of all, we have to understand what exactly does this word carnivalesque mean. Carnivalesque means, it's taken from carnival. Carnival means celebrations, right? Now, when the English translations of the great Russian critic and philosopher took place, it was generally termed as carnivalesque. Okay? Now, for Bhaktin, carnival means celebrations. Celebrations, in literary term, it means when you break down from the rules of the society, when the general norms are turned upside down, when the society is not considered at all, and when the daily routine of the life is suspended. It does happen, it does happen. There are various such occasions in this world which are enjoyed by the people all over the world. For example, Halloween, and there are others also. In Shakespeare's Midsummer's Night Dream also, we find same kind of situation. In that, the lovers, they go to a remote place, either on a dark night or a full moon night, and then they conjure spirits, and there are spells and enchantments and all and the likes. So such things are not in reality. But then when you put aside the rules of the society on one end and enjoy, when such changes take place, the wise becomes fool, the kings become beggars, the society is turned upside down. At such occasions, the comedy is very, very different. There's a lot of exaggeration, bad language, it's violent comedy and such. You can see, on YouTube's and even serials, we, nowadays do witness all these things, which Mikhail Bhaktin, in his book Rebellious and His World, has put in. So the obvious right answer is Rebellious and His World. Next question. Match the following. You have to match the authors with their work. So I would straight away give you the right combination. The first author we'll take and we'll discuss the work. Now, the first author is Sebastian Fox, and the work he has written is Birdsong. Sebastian Fox is an English writer and broadcaster. The Birdsong was written in 1993, and it depicts the traumas of the World War first. Prior to the World War and during the World War, the trauma of which has affected the psychology of the people who had witnessed the war. Many poets have written. They really had dramatic effect on their sides. So such novels are really, really very pathetic. Okay. The second one is Peter Acknoyd. Peter Acknoyd. And Peter Acknoyd has written Hawksmoor. Oh, this is very interesting. Hawksmoor. There was a person called Nicholas Dyer, and in I think 1711 or 13, he was given the task. Yeah, he took the task of building 6 churches in England, in London. So what did he do? He planned in such a way where human sacrifices were made. You know what? There is a belief that when you make human sacrifices for such a large project, these architectural structures, they remain forever, eternally. So there were some murders done, some secrets, inside each church. Now, after 250 years, these secrets and these murder stories came out, and another Nicholas, he became the investigator. So this was such a thrilling suspense novel. Now, this reminds me of Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. He does the same thing, he investigates and the secret inside when the popes were being nominated and so on. I think you must have read it. Okay, there's one more thing about the author, Peter Acknoyd. He never wanted to be a novelist. He hated fiction. They were a bad mess for him. He wanted to be a poet. Then he wrote a critical text. He even says that he doesn't remember reading any novel up to the age of 26 or 27. And then he wrote this one, which was such a good novel, and he became famous through this fiction. The third choice is Ian McEwan. And the work he's written is Amsterdam. Again, this was also a very famous work which won him the Booker Prize in 1998. Amsterdam. It's a story about two friends, and they make a pact that if something happens or some bad thing takes place, if their relationship is in turmoil, they'll take up euthanasia. Euthanasia means taking death through an injection. Okay, it's done in animals, Animals are made to sleep forever through euthanasia. They're euthanized. So this concept is there in his novel, Amsterdam. Now, it's a story about two friends. One is a composer, the other is a newspaper editor, and many of the friends, they meet at a female's funeral, Molly or some name, I forget the names. They all meet in the funeral of Molly, a common friend. And then, certain things happen and their relationship is broken down and things progress. He has a quality of taking the events out of the temporal zone. Once Vladimir Nabokov had asked him that how does he do that? Does he lose control over his characters? So he had answered, no, they are under my thumb and I make them do whatever I like. So that's why, of course, the novel is very interesting. I think the movie is also made, but I have not seen Amsterdam. So that was a work by Ian McEwan. The fourth author is David Lodge, and his work is Changing Places. Now, changing places means from one place to another, and it is a campus novel, therefore changing campuses. When students, they do engineering or MBA, they are made to go through an exchange program from one university to another. So that's the story of the same. And he talks about two universities, and he gives a Dickensian, like Dickens, he gives a subtitle to his work, A Tale of Two Campuses, A Tale of Two Universities, that kind, something like that only. So interesting. So we have got all the four authors and their works here. Sebastian Faulk's Birdsong, Peter Eknoid Hawksmoor, Ian McEwan Amsterdam, and David Lloyd's Changing Places. So we've done 10 questions till now. I don't know why I have opened up this. No need, because the question paper is already there. We'll do the next section in part 3 because the videos, they become too big. That's why. See you in part 3 with the next question of December 2015, paper 2nd. Thank you.